the sun.
Hello and welcome back to another video. Today's video might be a little different than what I'm used to. I'm sorry I haven't been uploading long form videos much. The thing is, there isn't really much development with the game going on at all right now. I think they're working hard on it because I don't know, the development channel has been pretty silent. So while we wait for that, I thought I'd show one of my own personal projects. So you remember a year or so back when I made a video about DINO MASK progress and it didn't reach 1,000 views as I was expecting. I figured it wasn't gonna reach a lot of views, but remember when I made that video? I made it as a test to see if you would actually find it interesting. So that's kind of what this is centered around. I did show a video where I painted that DINO MASK, but then didn't do anything about it for some years later. And yeah, this video is basically an update on that. So I did end up painting that DINO MASK to look a certain way, but I never actually felt attachment to the character at all. Basically meaning that since 2022, that DINO MASK has been sitting there completely unfinished. Until I had an idea. What if, instead of making a new character, I turn it into a character I'm already attached to? I've seen Wings of Fire DINO masks out there and they're really cool. Why not make one of my own? And why didn't I think of that before? So, story time, okay? So, it was late-ish 2022, and me and my mom were going to Walmart. And I saw one of those Jurassic Park DINO masks, and I was like, yo. Okay, so around that time, I was watching a lot of furry compilations where they would have the DINO masks, and I was like, yo, I want to do that too. So I was like, Mom, can I have this? And she was like, what is it for? I'm like, you'll see. So I ended up bringing it home, but I wasn't sure exactly what to do with it or what character to make out of it. So it just kind of spent a couple years just sitting there completely unfinished. Until the idea where I decided maybe I'd come up with a Wings of Fire theme, sort of thing. What if I made it of my Wings of Fire Sona? So the one I got was the Jurassic Park Blue Raptor one. So how I basically started the progress is I started to paint it a few coats of white. Since I had no attachment to the character previously that I turned it into, I repainted over that a few coats of white. If the main base color is already pretty dark, you've got to paint more white coats. You got to add more white coats depending on how dark the color underneath it is so that you can completely hide that undercolor. You know what I'm talking about. Actually, pretty much anyone who has made a DINO mask before knows about this step. I would show you an image or something of what I'm talking about, but unfortunately I realized I don't have any pictures on my phone of my DINO mask when it was in its all white stage. But I think you know what I'm talking about. It's basically just painting it to be completely white. After that was dry, I painted over it with the main color that I wanted it to be, which is this cyan blue, the color that Petunia is, since this mask is going to be Petunia. Yes, the eye mesh was already in. I had painted that white too when I repainted the mask, because the eye mesh was already in there beforehand. I was going to eventually repaint that too. If you look here, you'll notice that I hot glued a thin foam sheet onto the bottom of the mouth, where it also meets the bottom of the lower jaw. This will help hide your chin and just give off a better look. I recommend adding that before you actually paint it. When wearing a DINO mask, your chin will rest on this foam sheet, and it will push against it when you open and close your mouth, causing the mask's mouth to open and close. Once that's done, this is where I start painting the secondary colors and markings. This is where she actually starts to look like Petunia. What helps with me is usually I outline where the markings are going to be with a pencil very lightly, and then once that's finished, I paint over them with the colors that I want to use. Since black is such a dark color, I don't really need to do any secondary coats. Otherwise, I would need to. I also paint the eyes as well. Once I know for a fact that the eyes are dry, I get a little bit of white paint and I paint some little eye sparkles onto the eyes. I feel like it makes it look pretty cute and just improves the look a little bit. Once she was fully painted, it's time to make her actually look like a dragon. I was, for the longest time, not sure how I was going to do this step because I didn't know what I was going to use for that. After looking up other pictures of dino masks that have been made into RainWings, I decided that I was going to settle on clay. These are the pictures that I was going to take inspiration off of. They do not belong to me, and they are other RainWing dino masks that people have made. I think they're really cool. Shout out to those 2 random TikTok creators and their awesome RainWing dino masks. Now I'm going to admit I'm still a beginner when it comes to using clay, so I'm not really that experienced when it comes to using it. I did find some foam clay in my local dollar store. I know for this a lot of people would use like different kinds of clays because they're stronger, but this is pretty much all I could really find and all I really know how to work with. So I bought the ones that are in the colors that I need, which are black, purple, and white. The thing about foam clay is it's kind of weak, so I have to be careful with it. Sometimes it would break off, so I'd have to hot glue parts back on. I just have to be careful with it. So here are the horns and the frill fingers finished and hot glued onto the mask. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I also added some felt on either side of the eyes to give her eyelashes, to give her a more feminine look. It's kind of hard to see because it blends in with the black on her face though. Here's me getting ready to make the frill membranes. You see I had already gotten some done and I'm showing you how I did it. So what I did is I flattened a piece and then I lay it along where I want it to go, like that. I press down to make sure it's firm. It's not going to stay there for now, I'm just measuring out the size. I make sure the inner part of the membrane where it meets the head is tightly squeezed in to fit perfectly, and then I take my nail and I draw along the lines where it meets the fingers, the frill fingers, so that I know where to cut it. And then I use my nail to draw like a swooping down like line so that I know where I'm going to cut it at the end. Then I carefully remove it from where I just put it, and you see I got a nice shape here engraved into the clay, and that's where I'm going to cut. I take my scissors and I start cutting along the line that I just engraved into the clay to make that shape. Then I carefully hot glue it in between the frill fingers, pressing it to make sure that it's the perfect shape that I want, which I do recommend doing after the frill fingers are dry. And now it's time for the ears. I draw out the shape of what I want my ears to look like, then I cut it out of foam sheets. I make 2 with them, each facing opposite directions, and then I start painting. I'm mixing red and white here to get a pink color for the inside of the ears, and I begin painting. After I had painted both the front and the back of the ear, it is time for me to attach the ears to the head. First, I have to make the shape of the ear so it looks 3D, so I hot glue the top and then I fold it in, pressing it down to make that shape. I actually learned this method from a friend of mine who did that method while making a Wings of Fire dino mask of their own. Then I use hot glue to attach the ear to the head where it sits right in front of the frill. One ear done, then I just do the same with the other ear. And once both ears are glued on, Petunia is done. This is how she turned out. I really like how she turned out. If you're wondering what the flowers on her head are, that is a piece of a dance costume that I found that I thought could work as her flower crown. I know they're not the exact colors of her flower crown, but I thought they would work perfectly. And something I really like about it is that it's easily attachable and can easily be taken off, so it's removable, because the horns allow it for the flower crown to stay. So yeah, she has a removable flower crown, and I just think that's really cool. I'm really proud of myself for adding that feature, and I think it was just really lucky that I happened to find this in my basement. I thought it would work perfectly for her. It just wraps around her horns, and that's how it stays on. And that is the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed this different content. I know it's not what I usually do, but when you're a YouTuber who does videos mainly on a development game that only sometimes gets development sneak peeks, you gotta do something with your channel to keep it alive. And some news, I also finished something else that was a big project, which is my fursuit, which I have been working on for pretty much 2 years and just finished very recently. I am going to do a fursuit reveal video for my 7K special, 6K, 7K, whatever. You guys subscribe a lot and I love it, thank you. And I do plan on doing some short form furry content, however, I'm not going to be doing it on YouTube because of the amount of haters that you can find on furry short form content, because they find it just by scrolling and then they're like, oh, I hate furries, you know what I'm talking about. I kind of want to avoid that, so like I'm probably going to be posting that kind of content on Pinterest once I get that fursuit reveal video out. And my DINO mask will probably be included in those videos too. So if you want to see more shenanigans about that, then yeah, you can totally look at that on my Pinterest once I reveal that one video. Another reason that kind of content's going to be on Pinterest is so that my YouTube channel can mainly stay mostly Wings of Fire beta. I really don't want to stray away from that because it's one of my favorite things to do content on, and I really like how many followers I have gained from doing that, so I want to keep doing that. Keep doing what I love, keep doing what's important to me, so this channel is always going to be primarily Wings of Fire beta. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!